with Santa Claus here at NorthPark, and it looks like you've got a new house this year.
Yes, the folks at Northpark did a real good job this year at simulating one of the cottages from the North Pole, you know, to kind of make me feel more at home. And we're located right outside of Macy's here, and actually in the center of the center this year rather than being tucked away. So it should be easier to find and easier for people to watch and to come up and visit and have their pictures taken and all of that. It's like basically almost a two-story cottage, like I say, built to replicate one of the elves' cottages at the North Pole.
Over the years, what's your best memory you've had being here?
Oh, well, there's a lot, you know, but let me see if I can. I'll tell you one with a kid and one with an adult. How about that?
That'll work.
I think my best memory with adults was the year, and this was the first time this happened. A young man came by in the afternoon, said he'd be back later that evening with his girlfriend to have their picture taken. And a lot of young couples do that. But he pulled out a diamond ring in a box, and he said, "She's going to ask for a ring, and I want you to give her this." I said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes." And I put it in a little drawer on the table next to me. So later that night they did. They waited, and he said they would, so they were the last in line. And they came up, and they had a friend taking pictures. And so she sat on my knee, he sat on the arm of the chair. And all of a sudden, you know, we're talking, and I ask her what she wants. And she says, "I want a ring, a big one," you know. So I didn't go for it at first, you know. We talked some more, and he started getting real nervous. He was pretty excited. And so then I said, "Now, what was that first thing you wanted?" She said, "A ring, a diamond ring." So I reached into the drawer, pulled out the box, opened it, said something like this, and I gave it to her. Her eyes got wide, her jaw dropped, and he jumps off the arm of the chair, whirls her around, she's still on my knee, whirls her around, says, "Will you marry me?" And she goes, "Yes, yes, yes." And they start hugging and kissing and bouncing up and down the whole time she's still on my knee. And finally, some of the other folks working there got them to give me a break, you know, and got her to stand up. They came back the next year, and I saw them standing at the edge of the set, you know, and so I had a little time. I walked out to say hello, and they came by to tell me that, thank me for being a part of that special moment for them, and they wanted me to know that they had indeed gotten married and had calmed down a lot. And after that, that was the first. I've had 5 different couples get engaged in my lap, so to speak. I'll tell you a funny one too, though. There was one time a kid came up, and I asked him what he wanted for Christmas. Well, he starts telling me this whole story. He says, "You know, Billy Johnson, that little boy in my class, well, he kicks and he hits and he bites. So when he comes to see you, you know what to do." He was setting up poor Billy, you know. That's a pretty good one.
I see you're pretty close to Mrs. Fields' cookies over there. So between you and the elves, or amongst you two, who holds the records for most cookies eaten?
Well, that's a matter of some debate. Gruffin, who's the grouchiest elf at the North Pole, claims it's him. Tuffin, who's our tailor elf, thinks he's the one. But in all honesty, it's got to be me. You know what I mean?
What's your favorite kind of cookie?
Chocolate chip. Although Mrs. Claus has been encouraging me, and if they can make or find a sugar-free cookie, that would probably be a good idea. She wants me to hold down on the sugar.
So after the mall closes, do you ever go around roller skating on the floors here?
No, I do remember one year when we actually had some live reindeer here in a pen right next to where I was, and Billy, the mall manager, and I had to come in the middle of the night because one thing they didn't realize about reindeer was how high they could jump from just standing still. They don't need to run and jump, they can just jump really high. And they had a fence built about this high, about 3 or 4 feet high. Those reindeer cleared that fence and they were wandering through the center, munching on all the greenery and the shrubs and the Christmas trees and everything. And so we had to corral them in the middle of the night and get them back in the pen. That was I don't think we've had live reindeer since then, actually.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, you know, people think, you know, that's one thing about reindeer. People think that they're very sweet and good-tempered, and they are, the basic main ones like Rudolph and stuff. But there's some really grouchy reindeer, too. And you catch them the wrong time of day, you know, too early in the morning. And you really got to watch yourself, because they got those big old antlers. And even if they don't mean to, they'll turn their head real fast and likely give you a little scratch on the cheek, you know.
Has Rudolph ever given you an attitude?
Rudolph, well, I must admit, after that song and story about Rudolph came out, he got a little bit of a big head, you know, and he sort of lorded it over the other reindeer. And if they called him names before, they really let him have it then. So he calmed down, though. He and I had a little talk. And
what's the strangest request you've ever got?
Well, dare I say, I got a request from, you know, sometimes it's hard to understand what the kids are really asking for. And I've been asked, of course, for puppies and kittens, and here in Texas, even ponies and, you know, armadillos and what have you. But one year, I had a child who asked for a desk. They wanted their own desk to, you know, do their coloring and their homework on. But they added, I want a desk with a little diarrhea on it. And I said, what? Diarrhea? And Mom helped me understand. He was saying a diary that he could write in, you know. And I said, well, that is certainly more doable. I did have one who told me a different question about being good. You know, I asked him if he'd been good, and he looked at me very plaintively and he said, well, I am a 5-year-old boy. And I think 5 is one of the best ages. I asked another 5-year-old what he'd done to be good, and he looked at me and he said, I loved everyone with all my heart. You know, just sweet as could be. So 5's a great age. You know.
Which list am I on this year?
Oh, I think you've been pretty good. You know, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think there's a little too much made about the idea of a naughty list of bad children. I've never heard of anything as ridiculous as the idea of a bad child. There are children who get tired, they get grumpy. Sometimes they don't want to cooperate, but so do grown-ups. You know, we don't call them bad. So we know that all children are good, and that's why we want to make sure that each child gets something special.